Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. It is the start of a new year. And what I love about the start of a new year is there's just generally so much excitement. So much excitement because there's renewed focus. There's this like newfound energy. The holidays are over, right? Our calendars open up a bit more. Our minds open up a bit more to new possibilities. And I think that's super exciting. So I'm going to spend today's podcast and the next week's podcast talking about really building into the new year and how to do that, I think, with more intention and more success. So I'll be looking at shedding what doesn't serve us, shedding things that we want to leave behind so that we can go in and develop into a new version of ourselves or a more refreshed or a more refined version of ourselves. And as I see it, when we invite in new energy, when we invite in that new person we're becoming, it's really important to look at not just inviting in new, but really to start the slate and say, okay, if I'm going to make space for something new and my life is already filled, right? Maybe I need to clear some things out of the way. I need to shed some things. And so we're going to look at that part of the process first and then really get into new intentions the next week when we meet together. So, welcome in. And I know that for myself, I know the big year, the new year brings in a lot of change. I do a lot of self reflection, which I'll be talking about today on the podcast. And it really sets me up so that I don't have an accidental year, right? I think starting off with good intentions, starting off with new intentions is really helpful to kind of set your rudder for where your life is going. And if you want to live epically, or if you want to live with intention, right, rather than just living on default and just going along with the flow, which sometimes is helpful, but sometimes it takes us off course to who we want and what we want for our lives. And for the most part, we get to control a big percentage of that. So before I dive in, I just like to talk about some changes that I'm experiencing with personally, I'll be talking about that inside the podcast today. And then also some changes I am manifesting and bringing about for 2026 inside of Epic You and my business. So I'll start off by saying there are some things that I find that really light me up and are really working. And I'm seeing transformation in what I'm providing to the people that I serve. And so I will be continuing this year Drink Less Lifestyle. And if you're not familiar with Drink Less Lifestyle, maybe you're new to this podcast, I've called it in the past Epic You. And it is a way that you are becoming more of a better version of you because this is what you want. You want to grow away from alcohol or use less alcohol in your life, or maybe no alcohol in your life. And you're wanting to make that change permanent. You're wanting to make that a new lifestyle. And so I will be continuing Drink Less Lifestyle in that community for this year. And we're really focused there on improving what you're doing that is working. And we're shedding what's not working. And we're really changing your identity as well as your behaviors. So I feel that identity piece is key. It's super key because when you start to shift your identity at the higher level, automatically your behaviors begin to transform. They begin to shift. And so we're working on those pieces a lot. We're looking at what problems exist that maybe you haven't been able to solve on your own. And I really love the community because it's really this safe haven that I provide for women where we can just really look at what's going on. And I will tell you, ladies, I've been there. Sometimes when you have to look at your own stuff, it can feel painful. It could feel like something you want to avoid. But we make it in a way that's not so fear-based, not so shame-based, and I would even say not shame-based at all. Of course, when you may start first talking about this, or this may be the first time you've opened up to somebody new, it could feel daunting, but I have a lot of women who say, oh my gosh, this feels so amazing. I'm so glad I'm able to unburden my soul with people who understand and who are not going to judge me. So that is my commitment and the way I hold that container for women to really identify, okay, I really want this drinking issue to change. That is not a secret. That I truly know. It's just helping me get there. And I don't want it to be like just a 1 month thing. And if you're all into dry January this month, this is not a bag on that at all. It's like, okay, what did I learn in dry January? How did it become easier for me to do that for 30 days? And what part of that 30 or 31-day cycle do I want to continue moving forward? Right? It's not that, oh, I'm going to take a break and then go right back to my old patterns, because when that happens, I don't think a lot of us feel that we make the progress that we want. When we are looking to take a break from something, oftentimes when we come back to it, we may want a different relationship with it. And if that's you, right, this is the safe container where we come together and talk about that and we guide each other. And I think there's so much value in being seen when you're going through this process. Because when we suffer in silence, we just think it's us and we just think nobody understands. And then when we circle up together as this collective femininity and this womanhood that says, oh, wait, you have this same issue and this is how you've overcome it, or that strategy is going to work for me. Oh my gosh. And I love how you're already changing your identity around this. It's really life changing. If you're a woman and you want to be a part of this group, you can come check out Drink Less Lifestyle on my website, which is staying the same, epicu.com. Another program that I'm loving the huge life transformation and success in is my metabolic makeover. I have tweaked this program quite a bit in 2025. I've taken the learnings from the women who've went through it. And for most of the women who've gone through it, they will report out, and you could see the testimonials on the website, that they have lost weight. Even checking up with some of the women 8 months out, they're still at that lower weight. And it's not only just about weight loss, it's about feeling good in your body, right? Having more energy. Sometimes it's not, we don't feel right because, or we might be eating because we just feel laggy or low blood sugar or just not like understanding how best to nurture our bodies. And that could be a big part of a low energy drain. And so women are finding how to get more energy. And a lot of it comes down to mitochondria. We talk a lot about the mitochondria, the biochemical level of what is going to hamper your energy versus what's going to enhance your energy. And just the energy change alone has motivated people to lose the weight that maybe they weren't motivated to lose the weight on their own. But once they feel that they fired up their mitochondria and they find that it's just working more effectively, a lot of times weight loss will follow. And then also increasing muscle mass. Because the one thing we know about weight loss drugs that are out on the market and what they can do is they can reduce muscle. And we don't want to lose muscle mass, especially as we age. And that's why this program is specifically for the woman who is 40 and up. She's perimenopausal or almost perimenopausal and beyond, because her bodies undergo hormonal changes. And I find a lot of women don't understand that about their bodies. And I want to educate. I want to be a source of education, a source of freedom and liberation so that you can understand what is going on, so that you know what to do to honor your body through these changes. And look, what's happening in 40 is going to be different than what's happening in 50 and what's happening in 60. And I really think, nobody's really out there talking about these minutia changes that affect us from an energetic level, that affect us from a sexual level, that affect us from a metabolic level. And so metabolically, I want you to be healthy, and I want you to have muscle so that you don't have sarcopenia, so you don't fall and you're not frail and you're not easily mugged on the street, right? Like anything, like we want to maintain our ability to fully function as much as we can and maintain those daily living activities, right? Getting up and off the toilet, being able to grocery shop for ourselves, getting in the house, taking care of ourselves, showering ourselves, all of that for as long as we can. And there's a lot you can do in your 40s and 50s and 60s so that you can have more success and more likelihood that you'll be able to take and live independently into your 80s and potentially into your 90s. So I want all women to have this information. I want all women to be able to understand their biology and their metabolic profile and look at, we even talk about labs. Like, what is going on? What does your doctor say about that? And oh, have they mentioned this? Have they mentioned that? Have they mentioned this supplement? Because not everybody's knowledgeable in all these areas. And I'm not saying I'm all knowledgeable, but I do have a lot of information. And so I love sharing that with women. I love educating them about their bodies so that they can best take care of it. Some supplements out there, they're a hoax. I don't think they should be on the market. I think they're money grabs. I think, they're just designed on a fear factor and their claims aren't supported. And so I really want to help you dive into, okay, what ones are going to be beneficial for my body? And maybe you have a limited budget. Or maybe you don't like taking pills. So let's look at if you're willing to take maybe 5, 7, what are those most important 5 or 7 that you can spend money on or want to be taking? And the rest are just like marginal benefit. Because if we're focusing on the marginal things and not getting at the major things, that's where people get really frustrated because they're committing their time, their money, their resources. And guess what? They're not really seeing the needle move on what is most important to them. And so I just really love being in that container, holding space for the women there, motivating them. It's super motivating when we come to the calls. It's not like you're weighing in and reporting your weight. Like I've seen my mom do that at Weight Watchers, and it was so soul crushing for her, especially if she didn't make any progress or went the other way. It is not like that at all. It is to lift you up and for you to be able to understand more about your body so you can support it without guilt, without shame. And so I love holding that container. So Metabolic Makeover, we're getting started again in January inside of there. You can come and join us whenever it fits into your schedule. It's amazing. With another thing ladies love about it is that it's not all time consuming. You're not in there watching videos on end, on end, on end, on end. They're short, concise videos that you get one a week. Very easy, very doable, small action steps so that you can get success. And that's what it takes to get success, is not to bite the whole elephant or eat the whole elephant at the time, right? Just take one step at a time. So I will be continuing Metabolic Makeover. I'm also going to be doing some collaborations, which I'll talk about here in a minute as well. So this is a non-medical weight loss. So we don't use GLP-1 agonists in this program. It's really solely lifestyle behaviors that impact your metabolic profile. People have lowered their cholesterol, they have lowered their blood pressure. Some people have come off blood pressure medications. People have seen dramatic weight loss. Some people get a small amount of weight loss because they're really building muscle and they're learning how to take care of themselves, which is awesome. Okay, so those are the 2 programs I'll be continuing for 2026, at least certainly the first part of 2026. Now, I am offering and adding on additional services. So we'll talk about my year and what I've shed and all the things we're going to get into. But what I've done a lot in the last year was a lot of training to add on these additional programs. So I am adding on psychedelic coaching to my armamentarium. And if you want more information about that, you have to contact me directly and get on my calendar, and we could talk about microdosing and ways that we can really reset your nervous system. We can really use these allies to transform your self-worth. I've seen people transform addictions. I've seen people transform their identity. I've seen people transform their life, their relationships, relationship with alcohol as well. I've mentioned that in a newsletter in the end of 2025 that went out. And some of you were like, wow, let's talk, because I have been dabbling into this, or I've been hearing about this and I want to learn more. So I want to educate you in your specific situation first before we determine if we're a good fit to move forward. There are some cautions with these medicines, and so we want to make sure that you would be the right fit. And so this is not something you can just sign up for on my website. This does take a one-on-one consultation so that I can answer your questions and then get my questions answered to see if this would be a route that would be appropriate for you and safe for you. So I am adding that psychedelic integration coaching in. Of the clients that I've been working with in 2025, I kid you not, I've never seen such quick transition and transformation. As my one male client has said, I got more out of just a few sessions with you, Sherry, than I have in 10 to 15 years of talk therapy. And that is not an isolated event. I've heard that in other coaching containers where psychedelics may be used, and it can really transform trauma. It can really transform your relationship with self. It can really bring so much benefit to the right person, to the right person. So I'm not making a blanketed statement at all. So that is something I will be offering in 2026. So you can contact me through the website if you'd like to learn more. And then lastly, Epic Breakthrough Sessions. So this is a new offering you will see on my website on the Work With Me page on the one-on-one. Sometimes people don't want to be in a group setting, and I could totally respect and honor that. Sometimes they just need a 45-minute session with me and they really want to unload something, clear some emotional baggage, talk through something that's keeping them stuck, and they'd really like advice and they'd really like to hear what can move the needle for them. And they may need just one session, they may need a couple, and you get to determine as long as I have availability, which I am booking up quite a bit, specifically in the first part of this year. I have a couple of speaking engagements that I am on the books for too. So my time is kind of scarce or limited compared to this time last year. So if these are offerings that you are interested in, please go check them out on my website. I am really a big proponent of trauma healing, and it could just be minor trauma that we've experienced. But these things do stay in the body, and you will hear more about that throughout this podcast. Oh, I mentioned I'm doing some collaborations. There are some coaches and therapists here in the San Diego area. So if you like more in person events, I am providing more in person events as well. There will be one at my house at the end of January. Again, if any of this sounds interesting to you, just reach out on my website if you want to stay in the know about that, and I can email you. But they're going to be around really habit forming, breaking old habits and starting new ones, because I'm about lifelong change, not just quick fixes that don't last. I've seen that too many times, and I've seen how that really discourages people, gets people to lose hope, and doesn't really get to the root cause. And I think that's so harmful to the human spirit and the soul, because we really want to get to the root cause, because that's really going to provide lasting or longer change results. All right, so let's dive into today's topic, which is all about shedding the past. And I was inspired by this because at the beginning of last year, I started to pay attention a little bit more to other spiritual practices, other ways of healing, other forms that, just working through the cognitive piece may not be what all people need. So I've been opening my mind up to the lunar calendar. The year last year was the year of the snake. And I really leaned into that for myself. I really looked at where in my life can I really shed some things. And so I want to read to you: the year of the snake invites in deep inner transformation, gentle unraveling, and the release of old skins that no longer fit who you are becoming. This is a cycle of refinement rather than speed. And that I really want to emphasize. It's refining little by little, right? Slowly shedding rather than looking for like one big quick fix, right? So rather than looking at speed, really looking at who you're becoming and making those small changes where you feel guided to move more inward, reconnect with your true priorities, and honor the places you are growing quietly but profoundly. The snake asks you to soften rigidity, dissolve illusions, and let fears fall away so you can evolve with intention. And we'll be talking about evolving with intention on the next podcast episode. So that last sentence, I really want to say, struck a chord with me last year when I was like, wow, I want to soften my rigidity. I have some OCD tendencies I've talked about on this podcast. I have some certain ways that I've been doing and operating. And I will say they've served me so well. But then I started to notice how I was causing my own stress, how I was causing my own lack of ability to lose weight at the beginning of last year. Tone in 10, which was formerly Metabolic Makeover, that has taught me a lot about how we create our own inner environment with our biology, and really how I needed to soften some rigidity so that I can experience less stress in my body. I also wanted to dissolve some illusions. I still had the illusion a little bit that alcohol was fun. I still wanted a bit in my life. And I wasn't actually looking to change that illusion so much. I was after other illusions that I was believing from childhood or from somebody that spoke these words into me, and they felt so true, but I knew they weren't true. I knew they were just things I kept carrying in my head and in my body that I didn't want anymore. And I wanted to let these fears fall away. And if it took a long time for them to fall away, I was okay with that because it wasn't about the speed anymore. I was really looking at inner transformation. So the snake asks you to soften your grip, right? I love to control things. I love to be in control. And I'm not saying being in control is bad or good, but you can hold on to that where it feels too grippy, where it doesn't feel like life is flowing. It's almost like you feel like you're choking your own progress because you're trying to control something or someone in your life, and it's causing you more pain than actually solving or making progress. So I wanted to soften my grip, release old skins and patterns, and clear what no longer served me. I don't know about you ladies, but I don't know, you reach a point in your life where you just don't want to give as many F's. You just want to kind of get over yourself. You want to get over some of the hangups that have been in your head, maybe for a long time. And so when I was reading this, I was like, yes, I want last year, 2025, to be the year of the snake, which means shedding some old stuff. So here's some examples. Maybe you feel called to declutter some of your habits. It could even be declutter some of your life. It could be decluttering some parts of your calendar, which drain you, which feels like an energy suck. It could be decluttering parts of your house, right? Maybe you feel like you have too many clothes. That's where I was last year too. I donated all these bags of clothes. I'm like, there's just too much. And it just causes so much in my brain that it's taking away the joy of getting dressed. I'm like, no longer, I used to love having all the choices, but all of a sudden it just felt like too much. And if it's too much, how can we eliminate some of that? And maybe you're choosing to go deeper rather than being with distractions or superficialness. So there might be some relationships where it just feels superficial and it felt fine and you were able to collaborate on that level with this person. But over time, you're just like, I don't know, I crave something deeper, something more meaningful, some like more soul level conversations. And maybe some people aren't ready to go that deep or don't want to go that deep or not in that same space. And so look at those people whose energy you may feel lifted up by versus those who don't want to go to the deeper level if that's what you're seeking or needing. And if that's the case, you just create some distance, right? It's not that you have to cut them out of your life if you're not ready, but just create some distance. It's kind of like my relationship with alcohol. It was like too much, too often, too many consequences, too much guilt, too much shame. So I wanted to create some distance from that. So I needed to like have some days where I take it and some days where I leave it because I was focusing more on taking it and taking it and taking it on a daily basis rather than I need to create some distance. I need to create some space and really allow that relationship to kind of prune away so that I can become this woman who can take it or leave it. You might want to finally address a long held pattern, shift it through therapy. Maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need one on one coaching. Maybe you need a coaching container. Maybe you need to do some somatic work because somatic work can really help and really get at that deep inner healing, right? It all starts with within, right? We want to say it's this person or that thing, but it really starts with the desire to change it from within. And when we start making those changes inside, then it becomes easier to take the behavior on the outside. And as I mentioned, maybe it's just to simplify your schedule. You know, there's just so much in the world that we could be doing. And I know, the holidays can be a time where it's just go, 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 go. But also, you want to build in some rest, reprieve, reset, rejuvenation, right? Retreats, all of this that brings you back to you so you can recharge. And so, looking at as you're heading into this new year, what are some things that like no longer feel good? You just want to shed. Maybe it's some stagnant energy around something. You want to feel excited about something, but you've got this like stagnant energy. Well, what environment can you put yourself into, or what kind of help can you get that's going to motivate you or give you a sense of, yes, I want more purpose and I want more alignment in this area because I'm really sitting with this stagnant energy and it just doesn't feel like I'm making progress. And if you can't do it on your own, no shame to that, right? That's why help exists. That's why therapists are out there. That's why coaches and my program is out there, right? To help somebody through that stagnation so they can get success. Patterns that once kept you safe but now keep you small. Okay, so liquid courage. Oh my gosh, I keep going back to drinking because it was serving me so well, and then it stopped, and then it kept me small, and then it kept me doubting myself, and it kept me feeling, like this is not the woman I want to be. This is not the role model for my daughter that I want to be. I'm not living in alignment with my health values. It just started to a little bit eat at my core of who I wanted to be and how I was showing up. There was a disconnect, and I didn't like that. Limitations you put on yourself. How many of us like, oh my gosh, I can't make more money, or I can't do this, or I can't, like all the limitations that we put on ourselves? Look at those. What ones are like, is that really true? Is that really a limitation? Is that maybe I just haven't been able to do it yet, but it doesn't mean I'm not capable. Obligations that feel constricting, right? So there are certain obligations that we might be doing that we just feel like, oh, maybe I don't have to do this anymore. Maybe I could delegate this away, or maybe it doesn't need to get done. I don't need to worry about it. It's not even my problem. It's not even my responsibility. Maybe you're taking on somebody else's responsibility. And I have a lot of people who I worked with, which they become over responsible. They think they're responsible for their lives and their kids' lives and their husband's lives and this life and that and their parents. And they're taking on too much responsibility that's crushing their soul. I'm not saying we don't help others, but it shouldn't feel like soul crushing work where we feel like we have to live smaller or more diminished. There is a way to serve others as well as serving yourself and filling up yourself. And then there's the old emotional residue. Like, do you still have guilt in your life? Let's look at that. Do you still have shame about something, embarrassment? And is that something that could be healed? Is that something that could be transmuted and transformed? Is that some pain that you can turn into your purpose? Like I was so pained by an over drinking habit that I turned it into my purpose. I'm like, okay, if I've learned to create distance with this, let me use that pain to serve others, to help others. Because while you're helping others, it's helping you. Like I can't tell you the amount of times my clients help me. And it's this symbiotic relationship where we're helping one another get to our higher level goals. It's a beautiful process. And so the more you surrender now, the more you're able to let go now, the more smooth all of these new intentions that you're inviting in for 2026 just become easier, just become less muddled, just become less muddy, it becomes more clear, more clarity, less stress, more ease. And that's what I want for me. That's what I want for you, is to be able to carry out these new intentions, this newfound energy in a way that's life giving, not life shoulding. I should do this. I should lose weight. I should go to the gym. No, life giving. Do you know how amazing you feel after you do a workout, right? That's life giving. But if you're shaming yourself to go there, it's not going to be something you're going to sustain. You're not going to feel good walking in. You're only going to feel good walking out. Imagine a life where you can feel good walking in and feel good walking out. Like that's what I want, because that's what's going to become a lifestyle habit. I'm all into changes that change you and sustain you. So there are some words to describe 2025, and then I'm going to get into some questions where you could do some self-reflection and really look at, how did 2025 go for me? What did I learn from it that I can use as ammunition, as I can use as clarity going into 2026? So some words to describe 2025: transformational. Like when you shed stuff as the year of the snake, you transformed in some way. And even if you didn't think about this until now, look back over 2025. I'm sure there are ways you can see how you've morphed, how you've changed, how something maybe you've evolved in some way. Shedding is another word, release, renewal, inner growth, self-improvement, letting go of old habits, letting go of being super rigid, moving through some fears. Maybe you've moved through some fears. I talked about on one of our vacations, I really had to move through one of my fears because we were going to Costa Rica and they have this amazing zip lining experience. And it's like top notch. And I don't know if it's distance or height or what, I forget the details, but my family was so excited. And I'm like, yes, I want to do this. And I just had to get over my fear. And yes, my legs were shaking. Yes, I thought my knees were going to buckle. Yes to all of it. Yes to screaming off the platform the first time I jumped. Yes, but man, I mean, I overcame that. And then we zip lined again, and then we zip lined at another location where we vacationed. And now I don't have so much fear about it. And so just going through the fear requires the courage. Slow, intentional evolution, and then dissolving illusions. I think these are all things to reflect on as you are looking back so that you can have a more, I don't know, I don't want to use the word productive new year, but just a more intentional, more aligned new year. All right, so now I want to get into some questions that you can be really reflect upon for last year so that you're inviting these new intentions in. If you had to sum up the past year in one word, what would it be? So I just described some of the words that we can use when we're talking about shedding old things. So maybe it's not about shedding old things. Maybe there's something really transformational about last year. What was that? What's that one word you can use that kind of summarizes last year? For me, I want to say I had massive, massive expansion and on a conscious level. Like for me, it was my year of expansion. Did I know that going in? No. But I can tell you how much I have grown mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in this past year. I think I've made more gains on those three areas, not necessarily physically. So, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, I've made so much expansion in those areas, more so than any year I can look back on. Amazing growth that I've had. So my year would be encompassed by the word expansion. And just to talk about some things, I'm able to hold dualities better. I used to be more black and white thinking. I think I talked about that a lot over the 5 years of having this podcast is, things had to be this way or that way. I only saw two doors. It was this way or that way, two options. And now I can experience dualities better, like not the or, but the both or the and. So something can be joyful and painful. I can be grieving, but yet find peace. And so I've learned to hold dualities with greater capacity than my body and my brain has ever allowed before. And that means I can appreciate pain and sorrow, but not get sucked up in it because I also can see how life is a process and that will always be a part of life. And there can always be some level of peace or some level of purpose to it. And to be able to hold both allows me to have a better appreciation as well as preciousness to all that life has to offer. And I think that is massive conscious expansion, massive, rather than just being either or, this sucks, throwing a temper tantrum, staying in bed, all the things, but really how I can do life holding both. I've also let go of so much dogma. I didn't realize how much have let past events program how I think, or society to program what is success, what is productivity. Yes, those are great, but that might not really define where I am in my slice of life and how I can question that for me so that I can define and figure out my alignment, my level of productivity, and what works for me. And that's an individualized process rather than blanketed statements, right? So, very helpful that I've shed some of the dogma out there of what it means to be a successful business owner or all of this. Like, really, I don't care to scale my company. I don't. I used to want to, but now I just want to help people. I want to help people that want to be helped. And that is a different shift. That is a different energy. And that is a different level of service that I've been able to connect with that feels so much more aligned with who I am and where I am at in my life. Next question. Who or what got too much of your time in 2025? Who or what got too much of your time in 2025? So I have two answers to this, and it's too much, but yet I don't regret it, right? So even if it's too much, maybe you've decided to do that, But when I look back at where I spent a lot of time last year, it was on travel, and I love traveling. It was a lot of time away from home. Sometimes, like, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go back home because I miss my home. I miss my friends. I miss my community. I miss my networking events and all the things I'm doing. And I signed up for a ton of training last year. I did IFS or internal family systems online training. I attended an enormous amount of webinars on hormones and balancing the body and doing trainings and getting a certificate in that, as well as psychedelic training and attending lectures, live presentations, assisting people through this with others, attending events in that space, just really trying to understand these medicines better. They're fascinating how much research the MAPS organization has done, John Hopkins, UCSF, UC San Diego's enrolling trials, the Ohio State. Like, I'm fascinated by how much is going on in this space that I previously did not know anything about. So, just really been spending a lot of time doing courses and trainings and networking events, and it's been awesome. But I do want to scale some of that back for 2026. Number three, what is something you want to let go of for 2026? Yeah. Is there anything in your life that's like, I was so in alignment with that, but now I'm not? Or I'm less in alignment. So maybe I don't want to totally get rid of it, but I just want to curtail it. I'll tell you, I developed a habit on one of my travels to Mexico in Thanksgiving time. And it's a habit I'm going to be shedding in 2026. I'm on my way of shedding it. I'm getting more and more progress every day, but there are still setbacks. But I do see the progress that I have made in the past few weeks. And that is caffeine-free Diet Coke has made it back into my life. It used to be Coke Zero, but I really cut out a lot of caffeine in my life. So this caffeine-free Coke Zero or caffeine-free Diet Coke has to go. Last year, I cut back on my drinking dramatically, where I didn't drink anything circa day March forward. And so this year, I would just want to continue to cut it out completely. I don't feel drinking is in alignment with who I want to be right now and probably in the future. And I want to give psychedelics a nod to that because my experience with them has radically changed how I see alcohol. And I used to want a little bit in my life, and now I just don't. I just don't. So, truly want to keep that going. I looked at my closet again and I'm like, yep, I'm ready for a massive shed. I'm ready for a shedding of clothes as well as things in my life that I'm holding on to that no longer resonate, as well as books. I got rid of a lot of books last year. I'm an avid reader. And so there are some books that I'm like, yep, I won't read that again. Let's just move that along to someone else who would appreciate that. And then I will be removing my podcast in the new year. Yes, this is something I'm looking forward to shedding. I put it on pause last year. And I think for this year, I don't know exactly when I'll be cutting it off, but I do think I will be cutting off the podcast. It's been a labor of love for 5 years. And now I am feeling my soul being called in a new way to serve in a new way and to serve people more in community, more personally. And so I think that will be something in the new year as well. So, what about for you? What are things you want to let go of in 2026 or make some more distance with? And then I also think it's so cool to look back and say, what are you so proud of last year? What went well? And I'll tell you, for me, sometimes it's hard. I can give an example where it's hard, but I'm so proud that I just love the two people so much that I get to do this life with, my husband and my daughter. I love them so much. It hurts. Like, so much I could cry when I think about it. It hurts in a good way. Like, I love them dearly. These individuals make me who I am. They transform how I think. They both support me in endless ways. And I love how I love them, and I love how I respect them. I love how I show up for them. And I just want to deepen that and keep connecting to that. And when I say sometimes it's hard, like, I'm so proud of my daughter, but she does not like her picture taken for and posted. So I just want to post pictures of her because she's doing such amazing things. And when we're on vacation, she does these flips off the boat. And I'm just so proud of just her embracing her free spirit and just, but she's like, Mom, I just don't like when you post about me. So I respect that and I honor that. But the part of me is like, oh, but since I love you, I just want to share you with the world and post. But yeah, so I refrain so I can respect her wishes and just really love these two individuals who add so much joy, so much happiness and really support me in my life and the things that I want to do. It's really glorious when you have a support circle of people who see you, who listen to you, and who want the best for you. And that's my commitment to any woman or man that I serve. All right, so 2 more questions. What helped me the most this year? Something you want to reflect on? I've already mentioned that something that's helped me the most this year has been psychedelic healing for me, really getting at some of that rigidity, really getting out some of those limiting beliefs that my body was storing, which dives into question number 6. What's something that you've changed your mind about this year? And it is that somatic work. So somatic means soma, body, right? So somatic being of the body. I am a very headstrong person. I have great cognitive ability. I love figuring out with the brain. I'm very, like I said, in from the neck up. It's where I operate from a lot. But I was ignoring a lot of the wisdom coming from my body. And I've tapped into that so much more through psychedelic work, through somatic healing work. I worked with a somatic therapist at the end of 2025. Oh my gosh, did my body have so much healing inside of it if I was just able to get my head out of the way. I'm continuing to do a lot more somatic work in different ways in 2026 because it feels so good. It feels so liberating, like so much joy coming from my body that I haven't been able to access because I'm such in the headspace. So this is something I've changed my mind on, is like, we think a lot of our healing comes from our head. I want to tell you, a lot of the healing comes from our body's innate wisdom to heal. I mean, just think if you cut yourself or you break a bone, the body knows how to heal it. It might need assistance with the cast. It might need assistance, setting it from a physician. But who does the rest of the healing? Your body. Your body heals. It's amazing when you can tap into that. So I love that work. And then lastly, if you have anything that's coming from last year that really you want to carry that forward, I think is really important, whether that's a mantra, whether that's like, oh my gosh, this is what I learned about myself and I want to continue leaning in this way. Again, a mantra, a word of the year people do, some people do other things, but I think it's really amazing to have a reflection point and a reflection time. To put together this podcast took me 30 minutes to come up with these questions, answer them, and it's so invaluable to have this written down on paper in my journal so that I can remember it, carry it forward, look back to it. And for me, I think the mantra that I have is, you don't know until you try. And I have this great skeptic brain that wants to poke holes in everything. But wow, when I let down my guard and I just went for it with certain things, psychedelics being one of them, other areas of my life where I don't know about this somatic healing thing. I'm just going to sign up. It's probably not going to work. And then they transformed me. So for me, it's not ruminate on something and you just don't know until you try. So trying new things, putting yourself in areas where you're like, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Like, I've learned so much value to just, trust the process. If you're guided that way, like if I was guided towards this somatic healer and then I met with her online and did telehealth for a little bit, and then we started meeting in person, I was just like, yeah, I'm getting benefit. So just keep leaning into that. So that's something I'm taking with me in 2026. All right, my friends, I hope this was helpful. And next week, we are going to be diving in how to utilize this information so that you can get the more transformation and really set your intentions for an epic and amazing 2026. And I want to help you do that. If you found this podcast episode, I'd love it if you shared it with a friend. I'd love it for you to develop maybe your own group and talk about these questions in a safe container that makes you feel amazing so that you get the progress you want. All right, my beautiful friend, I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. If you're ready to take the next step to improve your health, wellness, and lifestyle goals, head over to www.epicyou.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Again, that's EPICYOU.com. Please note that the information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice.